Guys, we have the national champion for all women in all of Israel on
yes.
Show and Teller. Do you understand the magnitude here? I'm like blushing here. What is it that you want to say? I left my mark here.
Well, number one, the most important thing is I want my kids to know that I was always there for them and that I'm a good mother. And I think that every mother really feels that strongly. And it's hard when you balance such, big career ambitions. But I think being a mother to my children will always be my first priority. Unless your coach and doctor are telling you that there's no hope for you, then don't give up. Keep trying.
Welcome back to Show and Teller. I'm here with a very special guest. And as you know, I like to bring in people who have a story. They're pushing the envelope. They've overcome something in their lives. They've shown grit, overcome adversity, and they have something very special to share with us. And we've had a wide variety of different types of people on the show. And when I found out this guest who is here, and I'll introduce you very shortly who this guest is, when I found out that she was going to be here in Los Angeles from Israel, of all places. Yeah. Israel. I was like, oh, please. I need to interview you. You got to be on the show. So I was very excited, and we make things happen here at Show and Teller. And I'm very, very, very happy to have Mrs. Beatie Deutsch, 6-time
National marathon champion.
Like, I don't even know what the heck that means. I don't know. Like, that's like well beyond what I think that I'm even capable of doing. And we're going to hear Beatie's story and how she became a 6-time national marathon runner, amongst many other talents, skills, things that she has going on in her life. So without further ado, Mrs. Beatie Deutsch, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it.
This is maybe our first interaction since we used to work together.
We did used to work together, and
way back when I was with Olami.
Yes,
which was very
we're
fun.
part of this like whole Rabbi Rebbitzin network of rabbis and Rebbitzins from all across the country. So we would occasionally see each other somewhere back east and do the whole thing. And actually, you did speak for us once during COVID. I think
on Zoom. Most likely.
Yeah. So.
Well, the funny thing is, I always say that, as a young girl, if you asked me what my dream was, it wasn't to go to the Olympics. It wasn't to be a national marathon champion. It was to share the beauty of Judaism with the world. And I got to fulfill that dream just in different ways than I would have imagined. But I also was always athletic and I loved sports. I just couldn't have thought, I couldn't imagine that it would be possible for a religious girl to have a career in sport. It wasn't even on my radar. So
let's start with your story then. So where does Beatie Deutsch come from, and what's your path to how you got to where you are now?
Okay, so I grew up in the States. I grew up in New Jersey. I was part of a regular religious community, went to Orthodox Jewish day schools, high schools, seminary.
How many, you have siblings?
I'm the oldest of 5. I have 4 siblings. I went to the most religious seminary you could go to in Israel. I was on the path to, I got married at 19.
Wow.
I had 4 kids in 6 years. And I was busy taking care of everyone else, but probably myself. We actually worked on a college campus for 2 years. I was hosting 100 students every week for Shabbat. And then when we moved back to Israel, I was still working with Jewish college students. And I loved it. I was very passionate about it. But I really, after giving birth to my 4th kid, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so out of shape. And I want to start exercising. And I think we all have that where we're like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to sign up for the gym and the diet starts next week. And that was...
Day one is always the hardest.
Yeah. And I kept telling my husband and he would be very encouraging, but then it just didn't happen until I finally hit my breaking point when I finished dead last in a little family race on the beach. But after 100 meters, I could barely breathe. So I felt I was like, where'd you go? What happened to you? And I was like, I have to start exercising. And I told my husband I was going to sign up for a marathon.
Going from not being able to run 100 meters on the beach to being completely out of shape to saying, you know what, I'm going to run 26.2 miles. And you probably didn't have any game plan at that point. You probably didn't know any strategies.
Nothing.
You had no training whatsoever. So how does then one have that idea in your head to say, okay, we're going to execute this plan?
So I am obviously a little bit of an extremist, but what I did know about myself is that I needed to have a really scary goal on my calendar to motivate me to get out the door and train, because otherwise it wasn't going to happen. And I knew that if I signed up for even a 5K or a 10K, I could have like winged it. But I always say there's no such thing as winging a marathon. So once I decided that that was on my calendar, like that meant I am actually going to start exercising 4 times a week. And I remember I Googled 4-month marathon training plan.
It was 4 months.
I had 4 months, yeah. I signed up right away. My husband and I filled out the Tel Aviv 2016 marathon, form. And I started to follow what the plan said. And I said, I can only run 4 times a week. That's what I thought was possible. I realized like Fridays I don't work. Monday and Wednesday afternoons, my husband came home early. And then me and my husband actually started running every Motzei Shabbat Saturday night together, which I always say it's the best date night because you don't spend money. You don't have to eat another meal after all the food we eat on Shabbat. You always come back feeling better because like the endorphins are real, and you don't even have to talk to each other, but you got in some good quality time. So we're still going strong with our date night there running.
So give us a little bit of what that regimen actually is. I mean, now that you're a world-class athlete, but what you were amateur at this point. So
totally.
What were you doing to build up to get to that 26.2? And then we will ask you your regimen now.
Yeah.
What is that?
I was running, I only ran one workout a week, which was like very basic intervals, like 30-second intervals hard, and then recovered 3 minutes. It was like a 30-second all-out sprint. That was my workout. The other run, but I generally ran like 4 times a week, close to 10K. I don't know, something like that. And then one of those runs was longer. Every week I'd add mileage to build to the, you do the longest run you normally do is like 20 miles. Not as an elite, but like as an amateur, that's what you could do, about like 1 to 2 or 3 20-mile long runs.
And you worked up to that.
And I worked up to it. And I loved it. I loved seeing myself tackle a distance that I never thought I could do. That was so empowering to me.
And did it come relatively quickly? Were you shocked how like you built up quickly?
I had no frame of reference, so I didn't know what was quick or not. But it felt good from the beginning, which a lot of people I know love to tell me I hate running and it doesn't feel good. Like not everyone is gonna enjoy it, but I loved it from day one. It felt like freedom to me.
So now Tel Aviv marathon happens, 2016. You go out as an amateur runner, and how do you do in that marathon?
Well, actually, going into that race, when I signed up, I told my husband I have no time goal. Like if I finish, that's the best thing that happened to me, right? And my husband really was the one. He encouraged me to set a goal. And he actually challenged me. He's like, you need to run a half marathon before you run the race so we could like plug it into a race predictor and it will tell you what you should be capable of. And I'm really grateful that he did that, because at that point in my life, I was so far removed from that competitive side of me, which I naturally am competitive, but I was like so in survival mode that I couldn't think beyond, I just want to finish. And because he encouraged me, I did run a half marathon before. And he told me I ran an hour and 41 minutes on my own. And he told me I should be able to run a 3.5-hour marathon in the race. And I thought he was nuts. I thought it was the scariest thing to ever, I didn't want to take that risk, but he literally bought me a watch and programmed it that it would beep if I went too fast or too slow every split. And I ended up running 3:27. 3 hours, 27 minutes for my first marathon.
Now give our audience some perspective for never running a marathon. It at the time, I don't know how old you were, it doesn't really matter, but for never
I was 26.
You were 26. So what percentile were you running in? Like for that age bracket, never running a marathon? Was that already considered like Boston time?
Yeah, I had qualified for Boston. And
your first race?
Yeah. And I was the 6th woman on Tel Aviv that day. But I have to say I have seen a huge increase in women running marathons. At the time, there were only about 1,000 women running a marathon in the whole Tel Aviv marathon. It was so much more male dominated. And I think it's because so many women have that mindset of like fear, like I can't possibly run a marathon. And I really felt, then I had no idea that I was going to become an athlete. But what I did want was to encourage women to go after the big goals.
That was the goal after you completed, like you ladies, women.
Yeah, you could do it.
This.
Like we can do it. We can run marathons. Like that's what I was fired up about.
Okay, so now you more or less find out you get 326. You said 327.
It was 327.
327.
Yeah.
And you're like, now you're trying to be humble, probably just a little bit, but you're like, holy moly, I just ran a legit marathon with a legit time, and I now just qualified for the biggest marathon, Boston. For those who don't know, Boston is like the creme de la creme. And your first marathon, you're at this elite level. Now what do you say to yourself? And you're saying to yourself, like, what?
Well,
post marathon.
I wouldn't say it was elite level. It was good for a beginner runner to qualify for Boston, but like
Sorry,
elite.
it sounds
yeah.
elite to us people who don't know.
I didn't, and what I was saying actually, this is what I do remember is that I remember thinking, asking myself, do you think in a million years you'll ever be able to run a sub 3-hour marathon? But that's how far removed I was from the depths of my potential. Like I have gone on to run a 2.5-hour marathon, but at the time I didn't think that I'd
a full hour quicker.
Yes, and I didn't even think I would be able to run a sub 3-hour marathon. And I think, again, it's from that, how often we are so unaware of what we're capable of. And the big goals are scary. And we don't, we shy away from really something that seems so far out of reach because we're scared of failure. So I didn't have any clue that I was going to get to like this elite level. I just loved it and I wanted to keep getting better.
Okay, so I think this is great you're saying this because it's making me think. So I think people sometimes are very afraid of labels, very afraid of branding themselves because there's usually some pressure associated with that and performance anxiety. And if I label myself this, what if I am not up to the challenge or I'm not good enough and now I'm a failure? So was the running, which kept you running in the early on stages, just I'm running because I actually enjoy the running? Or did you say at some point, I'm actually, sorry, I, again, don't know what I'm saying, but did you actually say at some point, like, did you brand yourself or label yourself, I'm a runner, I am a professional athlete? And at what point did that switch come from just being a runner to now I am an athlete? And now once you did become the athlete, did that change your enjoyment of just the running, and was there more pressure on you?
Yeah, you're touching on something huge. So I absolutely agree that people are afraid of labels, and more than that, like it's so much easier to say, oh, I didn't really care, like I didn't try that hard, because if you tried really hard and you went all in on something but then it didn't work out, then you have the label of a failure. And I've learned that the only way to get to the depth of your potential, if you want to live and love truly to the fullest that you can, you have to be willing to be fully invested and care and not be scared of failure. Initially, when I was running, though, I loved it and there was no pressure. I was just enjoying the process. As soon as I won my first national title in 2019. What
does a national title mean?
Like I was the national champion. I ran.
That means like you were number one in Israel.
Yeah, for that rate, yeah.
Sorry for those who don't know what that means. It means for your age and
no, for all women.
All women.
Yeah.
Guys, we have the national champion for all women in all of Israel on
yes.
Show and Teller. Do you understand the magnitude here? I'm like blushing here.
Yeah, so I started to feel pressure because I was being funded by Israel and because your times mattered 100% and there was standards to hit and criteria. And initially I didn't feel so much pressure because it was still so new and improving so quickly without trying that hard.
Like it came overnight. Not overnight, but you're relatively from that first race in Tel Aviv to being a national champion. How
happened very fast. I mean, 3 years. That's fast for like a new
for never running.
Exactly. And in between, I had a baby. I ran a marathon 7 months pregnant, so we could knock that whole year out. So essentially, I trained seriously for 2 years and became,
with a coach.
No, 1 year, like literally 4 months with a coach, and I became a national champion.
So just your internal drive and your standard just pushed you to that to heights that you initially thought I'm not going to be able to reach, and you just said, "Well, I'm getting faster. I might as well
I would
push
say
a little." Like, how does this work?
Most importantly is that it's clearly a gift from Hashem. It's a gift from God that I'm a good endurance athlete. But I didn't know that for a large part of my life.
25 years of your life.
Yeah, 27 years of my life. I had no idea. And that's what I always say. Like, it's possible you could go your entire life without truly being aware of who you are. And sometimes it's only the scary things that you do. It's only when you step out of your comfort zone and take that risk do you reveal this piece that's been sitting inside you, this strength that you had that you didn't know. So to me, that was one of the most mind-blowing things I've learned. And
did you ever read that book? David Goggins?
Yes, of course, yes.
It can't hurt.
Everyone asks me what I think about him. Like, I'm the Jewish David Goggins, but...
Like, I just literally read that book.
Oh, you just read it? What was your impression?
I mean, honestly...
Yeah, be honest.
Honestly, just, I realize that all limitations are more or less up here. Or, I mean, obviously, people have physical limitations.
No, but yes, mind plays a
tremendous role. But I felt like reading his book is that he was able to overcome so much by just saying, all I have to do have like this Jedi mindset where I can just push through anything. And at times his legs were falling off, and,
right?
But he did it, and obviously there are times where it's like, reading that book, I can't run anymore, but he pushed himself to continue. I don't know if that's healthy, but he did it.
Yeah, I think the mind part, realizing that, so often it's our mind that's holding us back, and, that's ultimately where our...
that's what I'm hearing from more or less what you're saying.
I think that he does glorify pain for the sake of pain more than is necessary. Like, interestingly,
going through Navy SEALs,
if you want
ultra marathons,
right.
running. I mean, it was insane what he was doing.
No, but if you really want to be successful, like for peak performance, it can't just be about pain for the sake of pain. It has to actually, like, you want to be trying to keep yourself as relaxed as possible for as long as possible. You want it to be in flow state. And today, it's interesting, a lot of the top sports psychologists are really talking about this idea of returning to play and making it fun and for people enjoying it, because we have become so obsessed with the metrics and everything is data driven and you can know all your numbers, and that's taking the joy out of it.
Well, that's why I asked you the question.
So many athletes are struggling. And I struggled 100% with that, especially when I began to chase the Olympic standard. That was a huge leap from where I was. I had to try and run a 2:29:30 in the marathon, 2 hours, 29 minutes, 30 seconds. That's a 5:40-minute mile.
And that's to qualify.
That was the qualifying standard in Tokyo 2020. It's even faster now. But I had run the qualifying standard for 2016, just too late for that, So once I was trying to qualify for world championship teams, and I was determined to run that time, and then I lost myself in just chasing an outcome versus being able to appreciate the process.
The process.
Yeah.
You weren't very Jewish concept, but you were looking at the end goal versus just being part of the process and the journey to get
100%. And it wasn't just that I was looking.
And then it became stifling, I imagine.
It wasn't even just that I was looking towards the end goal. I was clenching so hard to that goal that I didn't feel complete without it. It was like my identity was tied into that. And
validation.
Yeah. And
you were Beatie Deutsch, the national champion, but if I don't reach this next height, I'm a failure,
100%.
which is mind-boggling, because look where you came from. So to the journey that you were on, if you look at it objectively, unbelievable, but
I couldn't see it.
The time defined your identity at that point.
Yeah. And I needed my rabbi, to really tell me to take a step back, not in terms of pursuing the goals, but just to realize that it's not about the outcome, and that he told me, you have to tell yourself that every day and have the people around you tell yourself that every day. And I think it's this paradox that we balance in. We can have the deepest desire to want to accomplish something, but then you have to surrender that outcome and realize that you're whole and complete even if you never get there. Like you put in the maximum effort to try and reach the goal, but your success and identity cannot be tied up in that goal, which is such a hard kind of like balance, I think. And I've been working on it for 3 years to internalize that message, because I still really do want to, keep competing at the highest level, but I saw how much it was affecting my mental health and spiraling downward and, creating negative habits for me.
At times were you becoming depressed?
Not depressed. I've never actually dealt with like depression or anxiety, but in terms of like, as an athlete, I held myself to a really high standard, and I had struggled with an eating disorder in high school, but then I completely like moved on from it. I was not suffering from it for, a long time. And then once I got so caught up in the elite, training, it resurfaced again. And I struggled with a lot of unhealthy eating habits and a lot of like shame around it, and just constantly feeling like I wasn't almost like a little bit of like, how can I be, if I'm so good at training, why is my nutrition not like good enough, or like, constantly hard on myself, very hard on myself. But I think that's all athletes and anyone who wants to who's trying to compete at a high level. We have that tendency. We're type A perfectionist control freaks in a certain sense, and that's how we've been so successful. So it's finding that balance and realizing what to let go of.
I appreciate you sharing. Thank you. And have you felt that it's does it get easier? Has it gotten harder? Is it still like, we're in the process now? Like what gets you out of bed in the morning? Like is there a goal at this stage of the game? Is there a trajectory, or is it because you are a competitive person by nature and you've accomplished so much already? What now? Or what's the excitement, or what's the journey entail?
I have always still felt like I didn't reach my potential yet, and I'm so curious to see. Like, I still have that really strong curiosity of like, what can you achieve, and that there's more in me, and so that motivates me. Like, it excites me, it thrills me, and I feel like I'm in a really healthy place in terms of like, I don't need to make a team or qualify or hit a certain standard to
you're running
feel
now
successful.
For the sake of
I
running.
am still competing. I mean, I won my 6th national title this year, and I ran a 50K and won the 50K race, and I dealt with a really difficult I'm 36. So I think I have a few good more years. I dealt with a very difficult hamstring injury, and I ran my first marathon since that injury in September. It was in Berlin. It was a very hot day. I didn't necessarily run exactly the time that I think I was capable of, but I was so happy to be back. And ultimately, I had set my sights on running the European Championships this summer. And when I ran that race, I messaged like the Israel athletics coordinator and asking them if it was good enough to be part of the team, because they didn't have a very specific standard. First, they told me that once again, the race was on Shabbat, which I've missed a lot of races because of Shabbat. And then a month later, he came back and told me somehow it had been moved, and that I could be on the team. And I, at that point, was like, okay, great. All I need to do is stay healthy till, August, and I'm running European Championships. Then things got a little more complicated. They said I need to run another marathon, and I think we just went through another war with Iran, and I think all the stress of the war and being home with all my kids, and I was supposed to go to Portugal and do a half marathon and then do a training camp in Kenya, but all of that got canceled. So my injury came back, and I'm currently in I'm rehabbing and I'm getting stronger, but now once again the European Championships is like on the table. It's like a question. I don't know if I'm going to be there. But so it's it's definitely a lot of ups and downs all the time. And for me, my biggest mindset shift, I think, on the journey is really, like I said, letting go of the races and results and successes and outcomes as defining me and defining my success, and choosing, to find joy in the process and embracing every single positive momentum that I have.
Change direction a little bit. What do you want to be remembered as? Like, what do you want to be? Are you Beatie Deutsch, the national champion, or is there something else that defines you that you'd like to be remembered as in this world? And what would that message be, that if you can continue to create that message, what is it that you want to say, I left my mark here?
Well, number one, the most important thing is I want my kids to know that I was always there for them, and that I'm a good mother. And I think that every mother really feels that strongly. And it's hard when you balance such, big career ambitions. But I think being a mother to my children will always be my first priority. And as a message for the world, I think it's that ultimately, I feel like we're all a vessel in our own unique way. I'm just a vessel to bring more of God's light here. And we each have something unique that we bring to the world. And so just to share, our unique light in the world is so powerful. And that I feel the privilege I have, that I have a platform and I have an opportunity to inspire and make an impact on Jewish people and human beings all around the world. And that to me is very meaningful. Like, I'm not just another athlete. I'm someone who's striving to shine God's light here through the gifts he's given me.
What are some kind things that people have said to you and how you've helped them? Being just by, you said you have this platform. What's this platform? You're just a runner. Like, what does it mean by just being a runner?
Well,
a marathon runner, therefore that's what God put you in this world for, like, just to be a runner. Like, what have you done that people have felt inspired by?
I love it. Like, now you're like my kids. The kids will always humble you. Come on, Mom. Like, but honestly,
I'm just trying to draw you out
I think that I think, first of all, it's funny because people always tell me you're so inspiring. And for a long time, I really resisted that. I was like,
talk to me about how inspiring you are.
I don't want to be the inspiring runner. I want to go and hit the times I set out to hit. Like, I don't care about being inspiring. But
because I mean, we even talk about this yet. And for those who don't know, is that, sorry, I'm going to broach this topic right now, is that you are a religious woman. So being a religious woman, what does that mean? What does that entail, being a religious woman and running a marathon? Because I just assumed it was like, oh yeah, Beatie's on the show.
Right.
I don't know if people understand what that means, being a religious woman, and why there might be not a stigma, but why there's like maybe she is put on a pedestal as what that means to be a religious woman, as an elite marathon runner. What did you have to do differently than other women as being a religious woman that people are, whoa, because I've never seen that before. So maybe describe that too.
I'm definitely the only elite athlete in the world who runs dressed modestly in a skirt, covering my hair, wearing long sleeves. I always joke, like, my kids say the other runners wear bathing suits and mommy wears clothing. That's pretty much how it is. And I think that as an Orthodox Jewish woman, a lot of times there's like almost like a assumption, like, we're not going to put ourselves in the spotlight, and like there's a big emphasis on modesty. And so sometimes people will ask me, well, if you're all about modesty, like, how is it okay for you to run and be so out there? And I think that modesty is not just laws regarding our clothing. I think that it's a character trait that we all want to incorporate into our life, and it's about humility. And if you understand and know that every single thing that you have is from Hashem, and as an athlete, it's even more challenging to say that, because when you train for a marathon, you work really hard. Like, I run over 100 miles a week, and I'm in the gym 3 to 4 times a week, and I'm doing cross training, and it's tons of work. But at the end of the day, I say none of these results are from me. They're from God. And that is really what modesty is. And so I think the responsibility I have as an Orthodox Jewish woman, both in how I dress and how I speak and how I show up on social media, to really show other Jewish women and girls that you can do anything you want without compromising on your values, and that that modesty doesn't have to limit you, right?
Because some people might just assume, the assumption is that, okay, you're an Orthodox woman equals in the kitchen making chicken soup, cholent,
right,
and challah. That's Orthodox women are restricted already.
Yeah.
They're not as equal as men, maybe. That's maybe certain things that we've heard of before.
Definitely.
So naturally, or not naturally, but when we see you, Beatie Deutsch, participating in not just a man's world, but are doing things, we'll call it a man's world, but you're doing it in a way, and you're bringing light to women, and you're redefining what an Orthodox woman could do, or what if there's any kind of restrictions or stereotypes, you're breaking all those barriers, and realizing that it doesn't just have to be a man's world. I'm just being Beatie, and I'm doing something that I love, and I'm competing, and I'm doing it well. And by the way, I'm still a mom.
Yeah.
My kids are fed, they're clothed, they love me, and I'm a superwoman. I can do it all. So I think if I had to define for you why when I said, come on, Beatie, talk about yourself, like, what are you doing that's different? You're redefining some stereotypes.
I hope I'm redefining what is possible for Jewish women, and for every Jewish girl out there to know that you can really achieve anything you set your mind to, and there's no limit, and you don't have to fit the mold. Like, I definitely broke the mold, and I have done very out of the box things, but I still am very much part of my community.
And still modest, as you described it, like, because you're
and that's really important
acting
to
with
me.
dignity, and you're doing certain things which, you're in the limelight. You've had a lot of cameras on you. You've crossed finish lines, but it's how you compose yourself, and how you show up, and how you are doing things, as you said, with God in mind.
Yeah.
And trying to be humble about it.
Yeah. It's funny because I just posted like a reel on Instagram, which was like showing me passing a guy in a skirt, and I was like, something, modesty doesn't equal slow, and like whatever, some funny caption, and everyone appreciating it, and then like some guy writing like, yeah, but you could also be humble about it and not be like bragging, like, isn't that this against the spirit of the law? And I was like, I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. The guy shared the video with me, so I thought it was fine to share the video also, and I just want people to see like that this concept of wearing a skirt or dressing a certain way doesn't have to hold you back. And I think it's not even just for religious women. It's for, sometimes in the running industry as a whole, it's kind of like people think, oh, I have to dress a certain way or have a certain kind of body to be able to run. And I want women to feel like you can wear anything, you can look any type of way and still be a runner. You don't have to have the perfect runner's look to go out there and run a marathon.
A 6'3" Kenyan.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hope that I've received many messages from women all over the world who've told me that I've changed their mind about wearing skirts while exercising, or even just the fact that they're capable of running a marathon or to dress more modestly. And that's really, really special to be part of people's journeys in that way.
Amazing. That's fantastic. It's really quite amazing what you've been able to do. Is there anything that currently other than just the running, that you feel that you would like to show the world with any other kind of project like that you feel is it just an extension of you?
I'm very passionate about Jewish unity and bringing Jews together, and that we are creating more, harmony within our world, because I think that so often, like, even within the religious world, every Jew is put in a different box, and if you're not exactly the same as someone else, there's judgment. People feel intimidated, or they feel the need to put someone else down who doesn't look or follow the exact standards. And it's really, really important for me, both in how I raise my children and the messages I give off to the world, that, like, love each other and understand that we don't have to look or act or dress the same way, and we could still really respect each other as Jews. Like, I don't believe there's one way to serve Hashem. That's why there were 12 tribes. There are 12 different paths, and every path is beautiful. And I think the more that people feel like, if you internalize that, then you're not going to have to feel like you have to prove something to someone else. You're not going to be intimidated. You're not going to think, they're not doing enough. Like, everyone can do what's right for them. And I don't think that so it's very important for me to just really bring more Jewish unity to the world.
That's beautiful. If your kids are gonna fetch or complain,
they are definitely.
If they're gonna fetch or complain about something, how do you tolerate people who fetch and complain?
Are you saying it because I'm someone who never, like, lets myself fetch and complain?
I just have a feeling like you're probably not the.
This is the first time someone asked me that question. It's such a great question. I definitely am one of those moms that's like, come on, tough it out. That's obviously my natural tendency.
I would just have to say, like, that just seems like, I don't feel like most people can fetch and complain with you.
But my biggest work as a human being and mother has been to be more present with my emotions and my kids' emotions. So I really do value that. Like, I work on empathy. I work on saying, if they're having a hard time, that I could see them and that I could say, wow, it is really hard for you. Even if I feel like it's really not hard. Come on, guys. Like, you could be walking a little faster, but I really try not to do that. So I really do try to be leaning into the emotion that they're expressing to me. And that took like 15 years of being a mom to do it, because when I started off, I just had no concept.
I mean, I could see you're regimented. You're like,
You're
a Mighty Mouse.
It was even more than that.
Like, how on earth can could you be tolerant of anybody if
they're
not at your level?
The standards I set for myself have nothing to do with what anyone else is doing. I'm very hard on myself, but I'm not hard on other people. Really, am not. And that
means you're somewhat healthy.
Yeah, I like to push
but
myself.
Look, you're married though too. Sorry, this is not a Shalom Bayis class,
no,
but like how?
My husband.
He has to have a lot of octane as well.
My husband's amazing. I think that I always say, first of all, he's the one who got me to where I got to in running from beginning. When I said I want to run a marathon, he didn't laugh at me. Everyone else would have laughed, like, Beatie, yesterday you couldn't run 100 meters. You think you're going to run 26.2 miles? Like, who are you kidding? He didn't laugh at me. He was, like, so supportive of it, and he's always been really supportive. And I always say, like, it's not just that. It's like, I'm clearly, like, I take up a lot of energy. I'm out there. I'm in the spotlight. He has no he's a very humble person, very he doesn't want any publicity. He doesn't like to be in the spotlight, and he's very encouraging. He understands what I'm bringing to the world, and he appreciates it.
So
he's an athlete himself. I'm coaching him now. He wants to run his first sub 40-minute 10K before he turns 40 in June, and I have been helping him train for it. I'm really excited for him.
Is he going to do it?
He's going to do it. I hope I get to pace him. He's been dealing with a bit of a little niggle in his leg, and he's slightly concerned about it, but I keep telling him he's going to do it. Yes, I am pushing him right now.
It's good. I mean, like, look, I married a very strong woman, and I just know, like, she keeps me in line, you know? So I'm just curious, like, how does that work? That being in that kind of relationship, you have such a high standard that for yourself. I'm just curious if that bleeds into your other relationships that you have. You know, your spouse, your children.
You know what? I grew up actually with a father who was very tough. Like I love him. He's amazing, but he also grew up that way. He was hard on us in certain ways, and my parents always had very high standards. They're high achievers. They both went to Harvard. My dad's a doctor. He was an all-star football player. So it was a culture of always like achieve. And that was,
and if you didn't reach that,
I don't feel like it was like, and if you didn't reach it, threatening, but it was just what we wanted. But it was just an expectation that you knew. So part of the work that I talked about, like in letting go, it's also been that. It's just like to realize that I'm not defined by how productive or successful or accomplishing I've been, and
it's the effort. It's the process. And
to not ever impose. I would never want my kids to feel that way either. So it's I to let go a little bit, Encourage. Yeah, absolutely.
You can do this, honey.
My husband and I are opposites also. Like I'm the delusional optimist and he's the more pessimist realist. So we balance each other out in many ways. It's great.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so let our audience know if you can leave some closing remarks that you're like, okay, I'm on the Show and Teller show. Hundreds of millions of people have been listening to this episode. What is your final thing that you're going to tell our audience on like a message, something enlightening, something that they can be like, wow, I'm grateful that I heard Beatie in the last 42 minutes. What is that last thing, though, that you would like them to be left with?
So I've really been thinking about the concept of like never giving up. And, when I was faced with another injury, like the third time in the last 2.5 years, and I felt like I went to my rabbi and I asked him, like, maybe this is God's sign that I should just stop running. Like it's like enough already, like move on, time to move on. And even though I didn't want to, but I just was like, how many times am I going to struggle and get up again? And he said to me something that really resonated. He was, we had just celebrated Lag BaOmer, and Lag BaOmer is the day that we're celebrating that Rabbi Akiva's students stopped dying. But he said, what does it mean that they stopped dying? There were no more left to die. Like 24,000 students
died leading up, and we have 32 days of mourning, second night of Passover to count 32 days until the 33rd day. The 33rd day after the second night of Passover, the students stopped dying and go on.
Right. So he said, how is that a celebration? Because they were all dead. Like, what are we celebrating? And he said, what we're celebrating is the fact that after he experienced this enormous tragedy and this tragic loss of all his students, he didn't like curl up in a ball and say it's all over. He went immediately and found 5 new students and began teaching them all over again. And he found the hope to keep moving forward. And he said to me, unless your coach and doctor are telling you that there's no hope for you, then don't give up. Keep trying. And I think that so many times, in the hard moments, we're like, does it really make sense to keep going? But you have your whole life to develop your potential. And if you aren't willing to fail and don't keep trying, and remember, just, don't give up hope. It's never too late.
And with that, this is Beatie Deutsch.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's just been a pleasure to hear your story, hear you and where you've come and how you've been able to inspire so many people. And I really do think that you are an inspiration for so many, and continue to keep your essence of who you are, because you're, as we'd say, you're doing a Kiddush Hashem. You're putting sparks of God into the world. And just by you walking down the street, doing what you're doing, being who you are, you're bringing light into the world. And the fact that other people are getting closer to their purpose, finding more meaning, getting closer to God, never giving up, pushing their limits based off of you being a Kiddush Hashem, by emulating God's essence of who He is. That's we need more of that. So
I hope.
Keep it up, Mrs. Beatie Deutsch.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for your time, and wishing you a wonderful rest of your stay here, and we'll do this again.
And maybe I'll be back in Los Angeles for the Olympics. Who knows?
Yeah, when is that? It's in
2028.
Okay.
Currently, the women's marathon is still for Shabbat. But, if I qualify and we get Ivanka Trump to petition, maybe it will be changed.
You heard it first.
Heard it here.
Heard it here. All right, thank you guys. Have a good one.